There's something about the sound of a mountain breeze, the creak of a wooden porch, and the voice of a man reflecting on simpler times that just hits different. For 9 seasons, from 1972 to 1981, millions of Americans gathered around their television sets every Thursday night to spend time with the Walton family on their Depression-era Virginia mountaintop. The Waltons wasn't just another family drama. It was a cultural phenomenon that reminded a nation spinning through the chaos of Watergate, Vietnam, and economic uncertainty that there was still goodness in the world. But behind those warm, fuzzy memories, there's a whole world of fascinating stories you probably never knew. Today, we're counting down 13 weird facts you didn't know about the Waltons. If you grew up with this show or discovered it in reruns, hit that like button and subscribe. Number 13. The entire series almost never happened because CBS thought it was too rural and old-fashioned for 1970s audiences. Now, this might sound crazy considering how successful the show became, but you've got to understand the television landscape in 1971. CBS had just gone through what's now called the Rural Purge. Network executives, desperate to attract younger urban viewers and the advertisers who wanted to reach them, systematically canceled every show that smacked of rural America. The Beverly Hillbillies, gone. Green Acres, canceled. Hee Haw, shown the door. The network was moving away from anything that felt like country living. And here comes Earl Hamner Jr. with a show about a family living on a mountain in rural Virginia during the Depression. The CBS brass looked at the Waltons and saw everything they were trying to run away from. But here's where fate intervened. The network aired a Christmas special in 1971 called The Homecoming: A Christmas Story, basically a backdoor pilot for the series. The ratings were solid, but more importantly, the critical response was overwhelming. It touched something in viewers that the network executives hadn't anticipated. People were hungry for this kind of storytelling. CBS reluctantly ordered a season, expecting it to quietly disappear. Instead, it became one of their biggest hits and ran for 9 seasons. The show that was too rural for television became the show that proved wholesome family drama still had a massive audience. Number 12. Richard Thomas, who played John Boy, was actually the network's second choice, and the actor they wanted first would have completely changed the entire feel of the show. CBS executives were pushing hard for a young actor named John Ritter, who'd already made a name for himself in television. Ritter had the charm, the talent, and frankly, the more conventional leading man looks that network executives loved. But Earl Hamner Jr. fought for Richard Thomas. He'd seen Thomas in a TV movie and believed he had something special, a sensitivity and intelligence that was essential to John Boy's character. John Boy wasn't just the oldest brother. He was the dreamer, the writer, the thoughtful observer of his family's life. He needed to feel a little different, a little set apart. Thomas brought that quality naturally. Hamner dug in his heels, and eventually CBS relented. Of course, John Ritter went on to become a massive star himself with Three's Company, so everything worked out. But can you imagine the Waltons with Ritter as John Boy? It would have been a completely different show. Thomas made John Boy feel real, vulnerable, and achingly sincere. His performance is why we believe this young man could become a writer. It's why those tender moments between John Boy and his parents felt so genuine. Sometimes the fight for the right casting choice makes all the difference. Number 11. The iconic Goodnight ending wasn't in the original script and was actually improvised during the filming of the pilot. You know the one. The lights go out in the Walton house, and one by one, family members call out their goodnights to each other across the darkness. Goodnight, John Boy. Goodnight, Mary Ellen. It became the show's signature, the moment fans waited for every single episode. But it started as a spontaneous bit of play between the actors. During the filming of that 1971 Christmas special, the cast was relaxing between takes, and someone started calling out goodnights the way a real family might. Earl Hamner Jr. heard it and immediately recognized something magical. It reminded him of his own childhood, when his family would do the exact same thing in their crowded house. He told the director to film it, and it became part of the show's DNA from that point forward. What's beautiful about this is that it perfectly captures what made the Waltons special. It wasn't about big dramatic moments or complicated plots. It was about the small, intimate rituals that make a family feel like home. Those goodnights reminded viewers of their own families, their own childhoods, their own memories of feeling safe and loved at the end of the day. A moment of improvisation became one of the most memorable closing sequences in television history. Number 10. Geer, who played Grandpa Walton, was blacklisted in Hollywood for nearly 2 decades before getting cast in the show, and his return to television was deeply emotional for everyone involved. Geer had been a successful actor in the 30s and 40s, but during the Red Scare of the 1950s, he was identified as having communist sympathies. He refused to name names before the House Un-American Activities Committee, and just like that, his career in Hollywood was over. For years, he couldn't get work in film or television. He survived by performing in theater and eventually founded an outdoor theater in Los Angeles. By the time the Waltons came around in 1971, Geer was in his late 60s and had been essentially erased from the industry he loved. When Earl Hamner Jr. cast him as Grandpa, it wasn't just a role, it was redemption. Geer brought so much warmth and wisdom to Grandpa Walton, and knowing his real-life story makes those performances even more powerful. He was an actor who'd been rejected by Hollywood, playing a man who represented everything good about America, and audiences fell in love with him. The cast adored him too. He was a mentor to the younger actors and brought a sense of joy to the set that everyone remembered long after his death in 1978. His return to television wasn't just a second chance. It was proof that talent and goodness can outlast even the darkest periods of history. Number 9. Ellen Corby, who played Grandma Walton, suffered a massive stroke in 1976 and had to leave the show. But she fought her way back to acting in one of the most inspiring comebacks in television history. Corby had been with the show from the beginning, and her chemistry with Geer as Grandma and Grandpa was one of the show's greatest strengths. Then, in the middle of season 5, she had a severe stroke that left her partially paralyzed and struggling with her speech. Everyone assumed her acting career was over, but Corby was a fighter. She spent months in rehabilitation, relearning how to walk and talk, determined to return to Walton's Mountain. And incredibly, she did. She came back to the show in 1978, and the producers wrote her real-life stroke into the storyline. Grandma Walton had a stroke, and the family rallied around her, just like Corby's real-life friends and castmates had rallied around her. Her scenes after her return are genuinely moving, not just because we're watching Grandma Walton recover, but because we're watching Ellen Corby herself refusing to give up. She continued appearing on the show until 1979, and her determination inspired everyone who worked with her. It's one of those beautiful moments where real life and fiction blended together, and both became more meaningful because of it. Number 8. The Walton house exterior was actually a facade on a studio backlot, but the interior was built as a complete functioning house, and the attention to detail was obsessive. Most TV shows of that era used separate sets for different rooms, but Earl Hamner Jr. insisted that the Walton house feel like a real home. So the production designers built an entire 2-story house interior on a soundstage, complete with stairs connecting the levels, authentic Depression-era furniture, and even details like family photographs and handmade quilts. The actors could move from room to room naturally, and cameras could follow them up the stairs or through doorways without cuts. This wasn't just about realism, it affected the performances. The cast felt like they were living in a real home, and that authenticity translated to the screen. Viewers could sense that these weren't just sets. This was the Walton home. The level of craftsmanship extended to everything. Props were carefully researched to make sure they matched the era. The kitchen had a real working wood stove. The kids' bedrooms had worn quilts and simple wooden furniture that looked like it had been passed down through generations. Every detail reinforced the show's commitment to making this world feel lived in and true. It's part of why The Waltons still holds up today. The show respected its setting and its audience enough to get every detail right. Number 7. Richard Thomas left the show after season 5 because he was afraid of being typecast, and the production had to scramble to find a way to write out their lead character. Thomas was in his early 20s, and he'd spent 5 years playing John Boy. He was worried, understandably, that he'd never be able to play anything else. So he made the difficult decision to leave the series and pursue other opportunities. The problem was, John Boy was the heart of the show. He was the narrator, the writer, the character whose perspective shaped everything. Losing him was like losing the show's soul. The producers tried a few different approaches. They brought in other actors to play John Boy's adult versions in later TV movies, including Robert Whiteman. but it was never quite the same. Eventually, the show shifted focus to the other siblings and the parents, and it continued for another 3 seasons. Thomas himself has said in later interviews that leaving was both the right decision for his career and something he regretted emotionally. He loved the show and the cast, but he needed to prove he could do other things. Fortunately, he did go on to have a long and successful career, and he's returned to the role of John Boy in reunion movies, coming full circle with the character that made him famous. Who was your favorite Walton sibling? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you're enjoying this, hit that like button and subscribe. Number 6, the show's creator, Earl Hamner Jr., based the Waltons on his own family, and real events from his childhood appeared throughout the series, sometimes word for word. Hamner grew up as the oldest of 8 children in Schuyler, Virginia, during the Depression. His father worked in a soapstone factory. His mother held the family together, and young Earl dreamed of becoming a writer, just like John Boy. The parallels are exact because they're real. Episodes about John Boy trying to get into college, about the family struggling to make ends meet, about neighbors helping each other through hard times. These weren't just stories, they were memories. Hamner even used real names from his childhood. There really was a Walton family in Schuyler, and they were friends with the Hamner family. In fact, when the show became a hit, some of Hamner's relatives and childhood friends were initially confused about why he'd changed their family name to Walton. He had to explain that CBS thought Hamner sounded too much like Hammer, which was already associated with Hammer Films, the horror movie. So Walton it was. But the truth of his childhood shines through every episode. When John Boy talks about wanting to capture his family's story, that's Earl Hamner Jr. talking about his own mission. The show was his love letter to his parents, his siblings, and the community that raised him. That authenticity is why the show resonated so deeply. People could feel that this wasn't manufactured sentiment. It was real love, real memory, real gratitude. Number 5, Earl Learned, who played Olivia Walton, was going through a painful divorce during the first season, and she credits the show with saving her emotionally. Learned was in her early 30s when she was cast as the Walton matriarch, and her personal life was falling apart. Her marriage was ending, she was struggling financially, and she was trying to raise 3 sons on her own. Then she got this role, playing a woman who embodied strength, grace, and unconditional love. Every day on set, she was surrounded by a cast that became like a real family to her. Geer became a father figure. The kids became like her own children. And the character of Olivia Walton gave her something to aspire to, even when her own life felt chaotic. She said in interviews that playing Olivia taught her about resilience and faith. Here was a woman raising 7 children during the Depression, dealing with a husband who could be stubborn, facing loss and hardship, and she never gave up. She never stopped loving. For Learned, stepping into Olivia's shoes every day was therapeutic. It reminded her of her own strength. And what's remarkable is that none of that pain shows on screen. When you watch Learned as Olivia Walton, you see only warmth, wisdom, and love. That's the mark of a truly great actor, someone who can transform their own suffering into something beautiful for others. Number 4. The show faced criticism from some critics who thought it was too sentimental and unrealistic, but Earl Hamner Jr. always defended it by saying the show wasn't about realism, it was about hope. This is important to understand about the Waltons. Yes, it showed poverty, yes, it showed struggle, but it never wallowed in misery. There was always love, always dignity, always a way forward. Some critics in the 70s dismissed this as naive or even dishonest. They wanted grittier depictions of Depression-era life. They wanted more conflict, more darkness. But Hamner pushed back. He'd argue that his family really was like this, that people really did help each other, that love really did sustain families through impossible times. He wasn't interested in making a show about despair. He wanted to make a show about resilience. And honestly, that's why the show connected with audiences in the 70s and why it still connects today. People don't need more darkness. We're surrounded by it. What the Waltons offered was something rare, a vision of how we could be, a reminder of what matters most. It wasn't escapism, it was aspiration. And that's a much more radical thing than critics gave it credit for. Number 3. John Walmsley, who played Jason Walton, is actually British, and he had to work with a dialect coach throughout the entire run of the show to maintain his Virginia accent. This one surprises people. Jason was the musical Walton, the one who played guitar and dreamed of becoming a musician. Walmsley brought such authenticity to the role that no one questioned he was anything but a Virginia boy. But he was born in Lancashire, England, and moved to California as a child. His natural accent was nothing like Jason's soft southern drawl. Every episode, he had to consciously maintain that accent, and apparently he was so committed that even between takes, he'd stay in character vocally. The other cast members have joked that they forgot he was British because he never slipped. What's even more interesting is that Walmsley really was a talented musician, and he went on to have a successful music career after the show ended. So while his accent was learned, his musicality was completely genuine. It's a reminder of how much craft goes into these performances. We see a family that feels utterly real, but behind that reality is a tremendous amount of work. Dialect coaching, historical research, emotional preparation. The best acting makes you forget you're watching acting at all. Number 2. The show almost ended after season 5 when both Richard Thomas and Ellen Corby left, and CBS seriously considered canceling it, but fan outcry was so massive that the network reversed course. This was a genuine crisis moment for the show. Losing John Boy, the narrator and central character, was devastating enough. Losing Grandma Walton at the same time felt like too much. The network looked at the situation and figured the show had run its course. Ratings were still solid, but executives worried that without these key characters, audiences would drift away. They leaked word that cancellation was likely, and then the letters started pouring in, thousands of them. Fans were furious. They weren't ready to say goodbye to Walton's Mountain. They argued that the show was about the whole family, not just one or two characters. They wanted to see the younger siblings grow up. They wanted to follow the family through World War II. They wanted more. The network had underestimated how deeply viewers were invested in this world. CBS reversed its decision and renewed the show, and it ran for another 4 seasons. This wasn't just about ratings or money. It was about the relationship between a show and its audience. The Waltons meant something to people. It was a weekly ritual, a source of comfort, a reminder of what mattered. Fans fought for it because it felt like fighting for their own family, and that's the ultimate compliment any show can receive. Number 1. Earl Hamner Jr. narrated every single episode as the adult John Boy, but he was never credited on screen, and most viewers had no idea it was actually the show's creator providing that warm, familiar voice. From the very first episode to the very last, that voice, thoughtful, gentle, tinged with memory and love, was Hamner himself. He was John Boy. He was the writer looking back on his childhood, sharing his family's story with the world. And yet, his name never appeared in the opening credits as narrator. It was a quiet act of humility. He didn't need the recognition. He just wanted to tell the story the right way. When you go back and watch episodes now, knowing that it's Hamner's voice, it adds this whole additional layer of meaning. You're not just hearing a narrator. You're hearing the real John Boy, the man who lived this life, sharing his memories. Every goodnight. Closing was blessed by the man who actually said those goodnights as a child. It's beautiful and fitting. The show was always his gift to his family and to all of us who wished we could be part of a family like the Walton. And in a way, through his voice, we were. Which fact surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who loves classic TV. Until next time, good night from all of us.